Welcome back to ReadingBear. Today, we will take a look at some new revenge stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first one is titled, Never Mistake Kindness for Weakness. My experience takes place in the early 2000s. I was 21 years old and worked for a real estate office in a small country town. One day, I was shown a property that was going to be going up for auction. It was a former drive-in restaurant that had a 2-bedroom apartment on the second story above it. The place had been abandoned for years and needed tons of work, but the location was fantastic. The property was small and triangular-shaped. The main thoroughfare was in the front, and a small country road with several homes ran behind. I decided that I was tired of renting, so I went to the auction and bid on the property. I didn't have much hope of actually getting it, and was floored when I was the top bidder. Immediately I went to work on the apartment. One day as we were removing all of the old carpet, we met the couple who lived on the road behind us. They were nice country folks, and we had a nice conversation with them. As the next few weeks went by, the husband would come over and watch me work. We had some decent conversations, and I actually gave him the old refrigerator, washing machine, and bathroom vanity that we were removing so they could be replaced. Over the period of 5 weeks, we did a fast renovation of the apartment and were ready to move in. One night we invited the couple over for dinner and beers, and honestly we all had a great time. Now that the apartment was finished, I started working on the old restaurant. I had someone interested in renting it out as an antique store. As I worked one day, I saw the couple drive through my yard to get to the main road. Puzzled by what I was seeing, I walked outside to talk to them. Unfortunately, they were pulling out onto the main road by the time I exited the building. It really bothered me that they would just take it upon themselves to do this. After a few minutes, I decided to let it go, and disregarded it as a one-time occurrence. At this point I had used all of my vacation time, and had to go back to work. Over the next few days, I worked 12 hours a day catching up on things I had fallen behind on. When the weekend came, I went outside to mow the grass and noticed that I now had a well-worn path through my yard. Once I finished mowing, I walked over to the neighbor's house, and politely asked him to not drive through the yard. He said that he wouldn't do it anymore and remarked that he didn't think I would mind. After our conversation, he stopped driving through my yard, but he didn't seem as nice and welcoming as before. Around a month later I watched from my deck as he drove through my yard again. That evening, he drove back through as he went back home. I immediately put on my shoes and walked across the road to his house. I knocked on the door and was ignored. Knowing they were home, I knocked again and again and again. Realizing they weren't answering, I went home and made some signs with some old plywood and spray paint. The signs read, "No driving on grass." I put the signs where he had driven previously. The next day, I came home and realized my signs were gone. Now it's time to put this to an end. As the weekend came, I decided not to mow the grass. Instead I worked to make that grassy area look as full as I could. Once night fell, I took some old boards and drove the longest nails I could find into them. I painted them green, and went into the yard and placed them in the path. I put more signs up, and just waited for the inevitable. The following morning, I am sitting on the deck, and the neighbor leaves for work. As he pulls out of his driveway I smile and wave. He enters my yard, and I can hear pop, pop, pop. He pulls into my parking lot and gets out to assess the damage. 3 tires are punctured and are losing pressure fast. He threatened to beat me up, and actually called the police on me. The police showed up, and asked if I wanted to press charges for destruction of private property or trespassing. I didn't press charges, but did have his car towed. Not having the money to get it out, he racked up a very large impound fee and never got the car back. On a daily basis, I would see him walking everywhere he went. I made sure every time I passed him, I honked my horn and waved to him as I sped by. Maybe next time, he won't take someone's kindness for weakness. I lived there for 2 more years and sold the place for a huge profit. The next one is titled, Fairly Aggressive Girlfriend Stole from My Bank Account, so I sent her academic career into a nosedive. I'm a senior at a large state university. This happened in the first semester of my freshman year. I was selected for an honors-type program that placed me in a co-ed dorm building with every other student in the program. As a dumb freshman, I rushed into a relationship with a freshman girl who lived right above me. We'll call her Megan. It was convenient for me to date someone who lived so close. but everyone else in our building hated Megan because she talked a lot and almost exclusively about herself. She bragged often about being a fairly aggressive person, but somehow I overlooked that mile-wide red flag. Right after Thanksgiving break, at the end of an evening class, I got a call from my mum, who noticed some unusual activity on my checking account. Back then I had no credit card, so this account debit card was my only access to my savings while I lived on campus. I rarely needed to buy anything during the semester, so I was puzzled to find that $104.29 had left my bank account over 2 weeks, in the form of 6 Grubhub food orders. At this point, I trusted Megan, but I decided to ask her about the money right away. She denied any involvement and suggested that I cancel my debit card. After a really long phone call to the bank, I did just that. Next, I reached out to Grubhub customer service on Twitter. "Hey, my card was stolen and used for food orders on these dates. Can I have the receipts?" They sent me the first and last receipts, but they had to redact the personal info of the account holder. I say redact in quotes because they just used the Snapchat draw tool, and Megan's name was still clearly visible on both receipts. What's more, the most recent receipt was only 2 hours old. She was probably still eating when I chopped up my debit card. It's worth noting that she and I both had unlimited dining plans, paid for by our respective parents, and we lived 500 feet from the nearest dining hall. She didn't need to order food, and she definitely didn't need my money to do it. So I texted her again. "I have the receipts from Grubhub. Are you sure you didn't make those orders?" Her reply: "Duck you for suspecting me." Fairly aggressive, wouldn't you say? I hatched a plan to collect security camera footage of her picking up the order from that evening. However, by midnight, Megan arrived at my door in tears and confessed to everything, plus she admitted to being a serial shoplifter. Exhausted, I sent her away and decided to deal with everything in the morning. By the next day, everyone in our building seemed to know what was going down, probably because Megan had already begun broadcasting her version of the story. I sent Megan a breakup text and decided that the $104.29 was a loss. At least I escaped unscathed, right? Well, less than 2 days later, she entered my room when I wasn't looking. I was sitting at my desk when I noticed her standing silently behind me. "Megan, give me my stuff." "Where's my stuff?" "Me, what stuff?" "Megan, you know." I did not know. She tore through the room, looking for something that she refused to identify. Just as quick as she came, she was gone, and I locked the door because obviously this wasn't over yet. Within a minute, she was back. She stood outside my door, knocking and demanding I let her back inside. The knocking quickly got more violent. She started shouting, "I know you're ducking in there," and "Open the MOTHERDUCKING door." Mind that we lived in this building with students in our program who all know each other, and all of them could hear her. Pretty quickly, Megan was rattling the handle of my door. Next, she began throwing herself at it, shoulder first, trying to break it down. I lived next door to my RA, but judging by the lack of any intervention, he was elsewhere. So I whipped out my phone and texted him to send backup. Meanwhile, I saw my heavy wooden door bending and buckling. I even heard it crack a bit. My RA was on duty in another building, so he sent 3 of his colleagues to de-escalate the situation. They brought Megan downstairs, where she revealed that the stuff she wanted was just the t-shirt and keychain that she gave me for my birthday. Whatever, I let her have those. I still just wanted this to be over. However, once I shared my story with the resident life staff, they filed university paperwork to place a no-contact order between me and Megan. They also recommended I contact the campus police, who then told me I should get my stolen money back in small claims court. I couldn't even get there without a car or money to pay for an Uber. Sorry, Judge Judy. At the request of the campus police, I also contacted the Title IX office at my school, sending them the story of everything you've read so far. They were interested, to say the least, although I didn't want any trouble. I just wanted a clean breakup and a fresh start, but a Title IX representative informed me that they were bringing 3 misconduct charges against Megan: theft, threatening, violent behavior, and inciting an intervention by university staff. The representative asked me to serve as a witness in Megan's disciplinary hearing the next semester. I tentatively agreed, right before the representative set the hearing date for February 14th. Valentine's Day. I thought it was a joke, but they really did that. When the day of the hearing finally arrived, the no-contact order was still in effect, but a few of my friends had kept tabs on Megan. For starters, she failed all of her classes in the fall. Someone in my math course confessed that Megan had tried to sleep with him while she was dating me, and he had to repeatedly tell her no. Even worse, Megan kept telling a twisted version of the whole story to try and turn my friends against me. So when I found out that she had found a new boyfriend, it felt good to know that the V-Day disciplinary hearing ruined whatever evening plans they might have made. I arrived alone at the disciplinary board office, unsure what to expect. The board consisted of grad students, and the hearing was expected to run into the night. Unlike me, Megan did not come alone. She brought both of her parents as character witnesses. That wasn't even a thing here. This wasn't a real courtroom, as you'll soon see. And that's not all. Megan's parents also paid a lawyer to defend her against the charges. The board knew that was unnecessary, but Megan's parents believed so strongly in their daughter's innocence that they had already paid this three-piece suit make her case. In the name of fairness, the board members offered me pro bono legal representation, a junior economics major, who we'll call Jimmy. Jimmy had already read my account of the events from the fall, and thanks to my screenshots of Grubhub receipts, he said there was an okay shot of the charges sticking. Then I told him something I'd kept secret for months. When Megan tried to break down my door and I whipped out my phone to text my RA, I also filmed the whole thing. Jimmy couldn't get enough of the video. There was Megan, kicking and screaming and clearly trying to break into my dorm room. It was all the evidence I needed, and no one saw it coming. In the hearing, when the time came for me to make the case against Megan, Jimmy played the video on a big screen in front of everyone. The room went insane. In that instant, I realized that Megan really had convinced everyone I was the liar. In her version of the story, I gave her permission to buy food using my account. She told her parents that she'd asked me politely for her belongings, which I'd rudely hidden from her in my dorm room. In Megan's story, I was the sociopath trying to ruin her reputation. Before I unveiled the video, it was her word against mine. I still didn't want revenge, even after finding out that Megan tried to cheat on me. But when I saw her parents flipping out at the video, "Why didn't you tell us you did this?" and her lawyer raising hell, this evidence was not provided in pre-trial disclosure, and a board member standing over him, "Sir, this is not a court of law. Please return to your seat," and him shouting, "Objection," and her replying, "We don't have objections, this isn't a court of law," and Jimmy, my new best friend, just trying not to laugh out loud. That's when I realized how good revenge can feel when it's fair and deserved. The board found Megan responsible on all three charges. My side of the bench recommended the university terminate her housing contract and force her to pay restitution. Her side recommended only restitution and a reprimand. The board compromised. Her family paid back most of the money she stole, because 2 of the 6 orders had the same price, and the lawyer convinced the board I had duplicated an order. And Megan was forced to move into a different dorm building. This probably would have helped her anyway, because every student in our program's building knew everything she'd done and lied about. They wouldn't speak to her, and no one wanted to be her roommate. By the time she had to move buildings, she'd already failed all of her courses again. Having paid for her tuition, her unused dining plan, her lawyer, and her restitution, Megan's parents finally pulled her out of school. Where are they now? Last I heard, Megan returned as a part-time student, but I never saw her again because the no-contact order still stands. I'm now Facebook friends with the guy Megan tried to seduce. Oh, and Jimmy and I connected on LinkedIn. As for me, well, I no longer date fairly aggressive people. The next one is titled, "Don't Tell Someone Your Secrets If You're Just Going to Screw Them Over." I live in a small town, and there are not a lot of places to work. I am on disability for a condition in my leg, but I like to work part-time as it gets me out of the house. I started working at a gas station, in the deli. I loved it there, the people I worked with were fun, and my boss was amazing. Not long after working there, I had noticed the assistant manager smiling and looking at me when she thought I wasn't looking. We became friendly and joked around. Eventually it turned into full-on flirting. I just thought it was part of her personality, as I am a flirtatious person by nature as well. I didn't take it seriously, just thought we were having fun. One night I received a text out of the blue. It was from her, let's call her Kim. Kim had gotten my number from the crew roster and thought she would chat. I was okay with it, as our personalities really meshed and we shared interests, not to mention she was very attractive. Not long after that she confessed to having a very serious crush on me, which I reciprocated. So we started talking more seriously and even sexting a little. Eventually she was hanging out at my house regularly and we made love several times. It was weird that she never invited me over to her place, and there were time constraints on when she could come over and for how long. I really didn't think too much about this as I was getting laid and was falling in love with Kim. This goes on for a couple of months. Then one night she texts me and made me promise that no matter what happens I'll still love her and assure me that she'll never hurt me. Famous last words. I go to work the next day and get called in the office where a police officer is waiting for me. I am arrested for sexual assault. My best friend helped me by posting bail. I was in shock. I had no idea where this charge had come from. I learned that Kim had filed it. It broke my heart. I had never forced her, even given her multiple opportunities to step away from our relationship. I still had friends who worked at the store, but they had all turned their backs on me. Some had even threatened me for what I had done to Kim. A single person told me what had gone down. Kim was married. She had been feeling guilty and had erased all communication from her phone. Her husband, however, looked at her phone one night and saw a message from me and asked about what was going on. She told him that I was obsessed with her and had forced myself on her. So that led to me losing my job and being arrested. Luckily for me, I had never deleted any of the messages she sent or the pictures she sent. So with a lawyer friend with me, I went to the police to prove my innocence. I had to submit my phone for evidence. By the end of the whole ordeal, she lost her husband, her job, and was brought up on charges. She is currently in jail waiting for her court date. I didn't go back to my old job as I had learned what kind of people my friends were. Revenge was sweet. The next one is titled, "Don't Want to Return My Tools or Pay Me? Enjoy Losing Your Business." I'm a trade painter that worked for around 5 years, essentially running a company for an owner who took a very hands-off approach. He was essentially a name and working capital and not much else. After getting an offer to work for a bigger commercial company and my old boss's realization he would have to run his own company as there really wasn't anyone else in-house that was qualified, he resorted to acting like a child to try and make me stay. Made me run around the world to receive my final pay, which I never even got, and refused to return my tools spread throughout various jobs. Revenge time. As luck would have it, another even better offer from an even bigger company ended up in my lap that wanted to subcontract me a very substantial amount of their work. But I'm going to need more employees for that. So I go through and call each and every member of the original company and offer them a $3 an hour raise to work for me, which all of them accepted. After all, they know me, they've worked for me for years, and it's more money, no brainer. They barely know the owner, and what they do know, they don't like. I then asked them to grab only my tools, which was the vast majority of tools on all the jobs, from their respective jobs when they leave for the weekend on Friday. Monday rolls around and my old boss is getting calls left and right from supervisors asking why nobody's at work and what's going on. He was so hands-off he didn't even have employees' phone numbers to call and ask them. He's essentially without employees and little to no tools to complete any jobs at this point. Fast forward 6 months and his company has now closed. He's lost all his work. His new addition to his house has come to a grinding halt halfway through construction. He's hurting big time. I never got my last check, but I did get a great group of workers and a company of my own, so I guess I'll just call it even. The last one is titled, "Bully Me, It'll Ruin Your Chances at Your Dream High School." So this all started in my 8th grade year. My school was a good one with many of its students going to extremely good high schools. These girls were in my friend group with about 3 other boys. I will call the girls Angela, Ella, and Emma. Our school was a private school and Angela's mum was a very high rank on the school board. And I will call the boys Mike, Todd, Adam, and Jackson. Just to make the story clearer. Angela, Ella, and Emma weren't that smart, so they cheated from me and my friends during the test. When they got caught, they blamed it on my friends and me. Guess what? My friends and I got in trouble and got over 20 detentions. The girls used Angela's mum's rank against me and my friends to let them cheat off of us on test. Me and my friends knew that girl's mum couldn't do crap, however, we let them cheat off us because their parent were buttholes. And we knew that patience would get us the best revenge. At this point, we had removed Angela, Ella, and Emma out of our friend group, but they still cheated off of us. They then proceeded to bully us and spread rumors about us. They basically ruined our last year of middle school. Our school chain has elementary schools that filter into the middle school. So it was probably my last year with a lot of my friends that I had known for many years. Here's the revenge. We took screenshots of what they said about us on social media. We also recorded what they said about us and to us. Most of it was racist and derogatory. We bided our time, collecting every mean thing that they had said to us until the end of the year. Since all of the girls' parents and siblings had gone to a really good school, all the girls really had to do was pass with low B's or a high C and they would get into a good school. Let's call it School A, and they all got into School A. My friends got together on the last day of school and put together all of the evidence that we had gathered and emailed the administration people at School A. In the email, we had explained the situation and also had proof of the girls cheating on test and all school work. We sent the email and waited. About 2 days later, I get an email back from School A saying that they have reviewed the email and reviewed all of the evidence and they have decided to rescind Angela, Ella, and Emma's acceptance into School A. The cherry on top. Well, actually there's two. School A forwarded the email to all other schools in our area so the girls couldn't get into any of the schools in our area. The second cherry on top is that we used my real email address to send it so the girls knew that it was me and my friends who had sent the email. Angela's parents called my parents over the phone furious. My mum let me answer the phone and act like I had no idea about what she was talking about. I love my mum. Last I heard, they were all attending an online school. Thanks for listening.